Thank you for that beautiful opening. Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Urbana-Champaign. My name is Kelly Skinner, and I am privileged to serve this congregation as the manager of religious exploration and engagement. I am so delighted to be here leading worship this morning alongside of our interim lead minister, the Reverend Karen Bush, who is serving as our worship associate this morning. We are a church of many different theologies, beliefs, and identities. But what unites us is our shared principles and a commitment to build community, seek inspiration, promote justice, and find peace. And one of the things that I'm especially proud of is that we are a congregation that values people of all ages, which means that we embrace the noises and little disruptions that our kids can bring into a Sunday morning. So whether you're young in body or young at heart, if you need a little bit of help with focus or sitting still during the service, you're welcome to get a coloring kit from the box in the entryway, just near where the lanyards are. And after the time for all ages, our children will be invited to go downstairs with their teachers for religious exploration. And remember, there's still time to send a joy or sorrow to be read aloud later in the service. You can email your messages to joys@uucuc.org. Or if you're here in the sanctuary, we'll have a time later in the service to fill out a note card in the pew for your handwritten joys and sorrows. This morning's service is a chance to talk about death and transformation. They're two sides of the same coin, after all, a package deal, and you can't have one without the other. It's amazing how all human cultures and faith traditions have different ways of thinking about the cycles of death and rebirth, the constant movement of loss and renewal at work at every level of our lives. But many of us fear death and we turn away from it, which limits our opportunities for transformation and hope. No matter what your faith tradition is, Easter and this season that we are in is a time for celebrating the miracle that happens when we embrace death and create space for something new to grow. And we allow ourselves to be transformed in heart, mind, spirit, or body. And so whether this is your first Sunday with us or your 1,000th, whether you're here in the sanctuary or watching from afar, know that you are welcome here. And this service is here for you. May you find something within it that you need in this particular moment of your life. And now a chance to acknowledge that this just isn't an empty room with one person up at the pulpit, but we are a community of equals. So let's take a moment to turn in your seats or stand if you want to and greet your neighbor. You might introduce yourself.
It has to be said, Happy Easter. Happy Easter, everybody. I want to take an opportunity to thank Kelly Skinner and to welcome her to the UUCUC pulpit this morning. In case you don't know this about this remarkable human being, she is a spiritual force and leader and has been in our Champaign-Urbana community for some years. And sometime look her up on the News Gazette history, and you'll see a full spread on her. She also is a regular speaker at Unity Church, and that and so much more we are so glad that you're with us. You are a dynamo, you are a brilliant star, and you are a wonderful leader for our RE&E and so many other ways. So welcome to our pulpit. And a welcome to our visitors, including Kelly's whole family showed up today. And she said it's okay if you embarrass them, but I'm not going to make you stand. So welcome any visitors and guests among us, in particular the Kelly Skinner family. We're proud of her too. Our land acknowledgement takes on a special resonance as a practice that connects us to the history of this place and the transformation it has gone through over the centuries. It reminds us of our responsibilities as stewards of the land and members of a community with a rich history that shouldn't be forgotten. So wherever you are listening from today, allow yourself to take a moment to sink down into the deeper history of that place. Think of all the lives that have taken root here. Those who lived in your house or apartment or dorm room before you arrived, the century of worshipers of all ages that have been in this exact space here this morning. The builders who constructed the walls, the creatures of every shape and size who have lived and died nearby, and the glacial ice that once moved across this prairie. And yes, the many people and peoples who stewarded this land for generations. Here on Green Street, we worship on the lands of the traditional territories of the Kaskaskia, the Miamia, the Bodoadwemi, the Kickapoo, the Peoria, and the Oshedashakawan, the original nations of this land, who continue to cry out for justice and self-determination. May we always remember where we are and the sacredness of that place and the many people, human and otherwise, who belong to it. For this morning, Kelly chose for our chalice lighting, "The End is the Beginning" by Katie Gelfand. We call forth the life of our faith by igniting our chalice. This spark of new beginnings invites us into a sacred space to reflect where we have been and where we are going. Even knowing that this particular flame will intentionally end with our ritual extinguishing, we fear not its end. For we know with brave hearts that from every ending in our lives, we are sent forth to make a new beginning.
I'm a newbie at this, so.
I love hearing the giggles of the kids.
So I would like to invite any of our children, their parents, any adults that want to actually come on up for our time for all ages. And as they come on up, guys. And if you want to sit around here, you can sit on the steps, or you can sit on the steps down there, anywhere you like. Yay! Yeah. So today what we're doing is we're going to be having a child dedication service today. Has anybody ever been dedicated or been through a child dedication service or seen one before? Raise your hands if you have. Yeah, this is a great experience. So we have lots of opportunities to do rituals, and they're practices that we do as part of our faith here. And we have rituals that we do to celebrate the closing and the opening of our services. We do rituals to show that we support one another. We do rituals to celebrate important times like when babies are born or when people die or when you grow up and we consider you an adult. We do a ritual when kiddos graduate from high school. And so a ritual that we do, a child dedication ritual that we do, is a way to honor that every child brings new life and hope into our world. Does anybody have a little bit brother or sister? Lots. Well, so part of the things that we do during the child dedication ritual is that we promise that we're all going to do our part, like you as a brother or a sister, and like everybody else in our congregation, to make sure that that child is welcome and that is raised up well. You know that we have some symbols during the child dedication? Does anybody know what those symbols might be? There's a hint. They're up here on the altar, or on the, yeah. Can anybody see that? Water, that's right. And what's the other one? No, specifically? Flowers, that's right. And so when Reverend KB does the service, she'll talk about what they represent, but we use those symbols to represent different things. So at this point, I'll turn it over to KB to conduct the dedication. And I want you guys to stay here because, like I said, you have a very important part to play.
Can you guys see over there? If you want to scoot back toward the bench, you can. Okay. We're going to ask Selena to put some special pictures on, but I would want to double check this mic. Is it doing okay? Is it being a little weird? Turn it down, they're saying. You turn it down. Is this better? All right. We'll be patient with the, there we go. If someone wave if it's been wonky. We're still figuring this one out. So, if you see on your screen, baby Eve was born on the eve of Christmas Eve. And Reverend Sally and I were sent this picture from her parents of they watching our Christmas Eve service here online in the hospital. And the family would like to have that shared, as did we. And then the other picture is the gown that she's wearing today. This is the 15th child in the series of children in the Lesueur families that have worn this christening gown. So you'll want to see that. Kids, can you see that pretty? And when she comes up, you have to take a look at her special clothes. So we have special clothes for different times. I don't wear this clothes grocery shopping or anything, but it's not as special as that one right there. I'll tell you what. Thank you, Selena. It is traditional in Unitarian Universalist communities to welcome new babies with a child dedication ceremony. It's a tradition that holds echoes of archetype of the Christian baptism, but in our theology, it doesn't symbolize any kind of spiritual change within the baby, but rather a change in us, the community as a whole. It's a chance to remind ourselves that we are responsible for the care and keeping of each new life and rededicate ourselves to being the village that shows up for each child being raised within our community. So on this beautiful spring Easter Sunday, we are taking this opportunity to formally welcome Eve Lesueur, who on December 23rd, Christmas Eve, was born into this world and into our faith community. And I'd like to invite Kristen and Ian to now come forward with Grandma Suzanne and with their daughter. And there's nothing you all need to do but look pretty. You can take a deep breath. You made it with the new baby. Anyone who's done that they get an A for the day. And if you want to stand so you're facing your community, put there, and we'll come, and then, yeah, why don't we do it that way? And then I'm going to have you scoot back a little bit, and then Grandma, would you come over here? There you go. You play a very special part this day and every day. Ian and Kristen, as parents, your responsibility is great. I don't have to tell you that. Will you do everything you can to provide a home for your child that keeps her safe and helps her grow? Will you build with her a deep and sustaining foundation of kindness, love, and integrity, no matter how much she or you change? If so, please say, we will. Now it is time for our whole community, which means all ages. So kids, this is your part too. And so listen up. Kids, you will be the friends and the older siblings. This is your little sister. And your role models for Eve. You will be of her generation, sharing the world with her in ways older adults can't. So as Eve grows, she's not going to be looking to someone my age. She's going to be looking to you guys of how to be, how to play, she'll look up to you. She's going to annoy you possibly sometimes. She's going to ask for your help. She's going to listen to you even when she doesn't want to listen to her parents. So kids, here's something, if you agree with this, when I say so, you'll say we will, okay? Will you promise to treat Eve kindly and fairly and to help her learn and play and to look out for her as she grows up? We will? Or yay? Yes? Thank you. When you think of the other children in your life and the ones that are a little older than you, you know what I mean? You look up to each other. So you are going to be a huge deal already in Eve's life. Now all of us, kids, parents, teens, adults, elders, will make a vow together. We are this child's faith community. Will everyone present today take the responsibility of giving Eve a sense of belonging and support? Will you be there for her through every stage of her life, guide her and support her growth of becoming everything she can be? If so, please say, we will. We will. And will you do everything you can to help these parents with all the difficult tasks that lie ahead? Will you trust in their abilities and support their needs as this child's guardians and caretakers? If so, please say, we will. We will. Thank you. This water is the same water we all gathered when we came together at the beginning of this church year. Reverend Sally took it home and boiled it and kept it in her freezer and thawed it for today. It comes from all over. This means it also contains waters from last year's ingathering, which contained waters from the year before, which contained from the year before. Generations of UUs and friends in this church brought water that all ended up here, intermingling and flowing into this moment in time, into the here and now. It's safe and filtered, so no need. Reverend Sally wrote this part in. It's been boiled, frozen, boiled, filtered. No need to risk vulnerable young immune systems. She's on a silent retreat this weekend, by the way. Isn't that cool? If you are comfortable doing so, please now reach out to your neighbors in the pews and join hands, or if you'd rather, just put your hands on your own heart. And kids, can you join hands with each other, or put your finger against someone's knee, or put your hand over your own heart? You guys are a huge part of this. We can't do it without you, okay? So, and great-grandmother Suzanne, you can't do this wrong. There's no way you can do this wrong. Which flower would you like to choose? Take the lilac. That came from the churchyard. And now I'm going to hold the water up, and then you'll just dip it, and then I'll read. And we'll just do this slowly, and you just follow what I say. Eve, with this water a symbol of the ways we are similar and deeply connected to all of life on this earth. And with this flower, symbol of your constantly unfolding individuality, we welcome and bless you. Through our linked touch, we connect you to the chain of being that created you and to the network of communal love that will shape you. So we bless your eyes and ask that your vision may be true. We bless your brow and ask that your mind be made clear. We bless your lips and ask that your voice may be strong. We bless your heart and ask that it always be open. We bless your hands and ask they may always be gentle. And we bless your feet and ask they may always carry you where you need to go. Eve, may you always be forever as whole and as loved as you are today. We welcome you into the world. Amen. You may be seated, and you're welcome to take that with you. I'm going to add some gifts. It has become the tradition of this church that a special blanket has been made, and this tradition has been passed on recently, and the parents chose this blanket. Oh, there's two identical ones. So we'll chose this blanket for baby Eve's dedication blanket. And we have a special certificate that our own Kate, admin Kate, made, special for today, that is for you as well, which I will sign before you walk out today. So here is your blanket, and blessings and thank you. Congratulations. We now have a hymn that's going to be led to us by MR. As you will see, the words are found on an insert in your bulletin. And if those who are able and would like to stand as we all sing in hearty spirit on this beautiful Easter dedication Sunday. The children are now invited to go down to your programming, especially for you, with your teachers. And please be seated. We now have a lot of fun in this congregation. More so since we opened up after lockdown, right, everybody? And we have something coming up that you're not going to want to miss. We have a special video put on by our auction committee for this purpose right now, so get ready, buckle up, Buttercup.
Now it's time to enter auction. That's right, UUCUC. Our annual service auction is this coming Saturday, April 15th at 5:30 here at the church. That means you have less than a week to get your donations in and to make your plans to attend this blockbuster event. It's our biggest fundraiser of the year and also our biggest party. But it can't happen without your help. What do we need? We need donations. If there is a service you can provide, a useful item you can loan out, a social occasion you can host, then donate it by Wednesday so we can include it in the catalog. Here are some things that we've received already for this year's auction. Use of a pickup truck and driver, a condo stay in Vero Beach, bourbon tasting, the world-famous Pat and Kinney sing-along. Add your talent, hobby, or item to this list. The more we have, the more fun it is for everybody, and the more money we can raise. We also need you to come to the auction. How often can you wear PJs at church? Well, on Saturday, you'll have your chance. Well, at the auction, you'll get a breakfast dinner prepared by our own Chef Anthony, along with complimentary soft and not-so-soft drinks. And if that's not enough, you can groove to the tunes of Johnny Beckett and his combo. All of this for $15 per person or $45 per family. And if you can't make it to the church, you can still bid on almost everything because the sale will be almost entirely online. And lastly, we need you to volunteer to help. We need your desserts. We need your help to set up on Friday night. We need your help to break it all down on Saturday night. You can sign up for all of these opportunities at our website, uucuc.org/auction. Don't miss this party. We now return you to your regularly scheduled service.
And if you've never been, do participate. I started participating as a friend some years ago, and it's been a blast to be part of this community. Speaking being part of this community, this is my last Sunday at the mic with you. I did my last sermon a couple of weeks ago, and I couldn't be more delighted what you're about to receive because everyone together has been working for this for a long time. Pat McClard is going to come and share some really fantastic info.
Good morning. My name is Pat McClard. I'm the co-chair of the search committee, and I am on the renewal side, I think, of the death and renewal of this service. I'm not going to bore you with a long introduction. I know this is something everyone's excited about, so I would like to introduce you to our minister candidate, Beth Munholland.
Hello, Unitarian Universalist Church of Urbana-Champaign. My name is Beth Munholland. My pronouns are she, hers, and I am honored and humbled and delighted and excited to be your candidate for settled minister. I'm coming to you in this very moment from the shores of the Schuylkill River in eastern Pennsylvania, where I've been interning with Wellsprings UU congregation for the past 2 years. I'm originally from eastern Kentucky and Tennessee, although I've called Milwaukee, Wisconsin home since I was a teenager. I was raised in Pentecostal and Baptist churches, which I left behind when I turned 18, but I was introduced to Unitarian Universalism in my early 20s when I was doing some reproductive rights activism work in Milwaukee. I've been a member at my home congregation, the First Unitarian Society of Milwaukee, for officially a decade now. And it was through my lay leadership there that I began to hear a call to ministry that I decided to answer in the fall of 2020 when I enrolled in Meadville Lombard Theological School. That choice meant that I had to walk away from a 20-year career in higher education, where among many things that I did, I worked as an academic advisor, career counselor, oversaw orientation and student development programs, and was an adjunct instructor in theater. I'm glad and proud to say that I will be graduating from Meadville Lombard on May 21st of this year, and a month later, on June 18th, Wellsprings, my internship congregation, is going to ordain me. On a more personal level, I have been married to my spouse, a wonderful, creative, and supportive partner, for 23 years. His name is Pugs, and he and I have a rescue dog named Luna and 2 rescue cats, King Lear and Lady Cordelia. Yes, they are named for Shakespeare characters who had tragic endings, but we are giving the cats a better ending than those characters had. I do love to read. I love theater. Poetry is my favorite art form, and I'm a huge fan, actually, of romance novels and fantasy and science fiction, and I will be happy to argue with you which is better, Star Trek or Star Wars. I have lots of nieces and nephews who tell me I'm the best auntie in the world, so I wear that crown with pride. And I love to take long walks. I used to run and might get back into that again. Politically, I'm a socialist. Religiously, theologically, I think I am a religious naturalist. I take inspiration from the world around us and think that it is a miraculous, ordinary gift that we are made of stardust. You know, we come into this world with gifts that we are called to mutually share for each other's thriving. I look forward to hearing about your gifts and the ways in which you want to use those for the thriving of your community. I hope this spring brings you whatever your hearts need, and I am so thrilled that I will get to meet you all in person very soon. Blessings on you. May you have a wonderful, wonderful day.
Yeah, I've got goosebumps. We've got a calendar I think is going to pop up here in a moment. Important dates, obviously the 9th, that's today. Ahead, and we are looking forward to the next few weeks. Thank you.
I only had one conversation with Beth in February. I fell in love with her, so I'll just say that. I couldn't be more pleased, and so I look forward to the journey you all have ahead of you. We as Unitarian Universalists acknowledge that our circle of care doesn't stop at our church doors. We are deeply connected to the community we find ourselves in and to the wider world. Each Sunday, in recognition of our very real interdependence and reliance on each other, we pass the plate and share our offering with an organization doing the work of justice in this world. For our April Sundays, we are sharing our plate with CASA, which stands for, in case you don't know yet, Champaign County Court Appointed Special Advocate. It's a mouthful, but it carries a real powerful punch. CASA is a not-for-profit organization which trains and monitors volunteers who advocate for the best interests of children. who have experienced abuse and neglect. These volunteers seek to make sure children don't get forgotten in an overburdened legal and social service system. CASA volunteers spend valuable one-on-one time with the children and remain involved until each case is closed. You can give by text or through the online portal on our website. Or if you're here in the sanctuary, the basket will be passed and checks can be made out to Unitarian Universalist Church of Urbana-Champaign, or simply UUCUC. And no matter how you choose to contribute today, half your donation will go to the work of this church, and half will go to CASA. We invite you to give whatever is generous for you, and know that anything you contribute will be gratefully received and put to use, helping make a real impact right here in our community. The offering will now be taken.
Thank you so much, Todd and Peggy and Steve. That was just so beautiful. And I just want to thank our other musicians who made this service today, Juan and MR, and our choir this morning, and Joe and the drums, and just the music really makes our services. So each Sunday we bring together our individual joys and sorrows and concerns to our time together. So I invite you to bring to mind the joys and sorrows in your own life, as well as those of the wider world around you. And in a minute, we'll play our blessing song. We're going to do something a little bit different with joys and sorrows this morning. there's cards in your pews where you can fill out those joys and sorrows when we have the song. You can also submit them online if you aren't with us today, and you can share that at Joys and Sorrows at UUC. But while we're writing, you can bring your joys and sorrows forward and take a moment at our altar table or the table in the back, in the middle of the sanctuary. And I also invite you to plant a seed. And I have some sunflower seeds of different sizes that are here because seeds are the perfect representative of our joys and sorrows. They're a great symbol of death and transformation. And so when you plant a seed, that seed actually needs to die in order for life to burst out. And as it dies, it transforms. Its roots start to go deep, and the stems make their way out of the dirt to grow and blossom. And what you'll find when you dig up a plant after you plant a seed is that you won't find that seed anymore, only the product of what had died and made room for something new. And so whether you choose to plant a seed or just come forward and bring your cards, let's come together in stillness as Juan plays our blessing song, The Longtime Son. So we received an anonymous member says, despite the blessings of spring and Easter, I'm going through a tough time right now. I'm feeling very disappointed in myself and discouraged about my life efforts versus my life gains. Plus, I'm exhausted for caring for and worried about my elderly pet who is slowly recovering from injuries that reveal that their spirit is stronger than their body. I'm well aware of the arc that we are traveling right now in this particular situation with them and understand ultimate outcomes of such arc. Any intercessions on our behalf as you so see fit are appreciated with gratitude. Born on Easter Sunday in 1974, this is my 49th trip around the sun. It's a journey that has been full of joys and sorrows. A concern, the annual service auction is less than 7 days away. At this time, we only have 45 tickets sold. My sorrow is that for the anxiety this is causing Jared, myself, and the rest of the auction team. I hope that next Sunday, this will instead become a joy because 50 more of you have purchased tickets and attended a super fun party that will raise funds for our church home. This week, I was able to have a reunion with my 80-year-old cousin who lives in Manhattan. We have not been able to see each other since pre-COVID. It was heartbreaking hearing of her struggles living in New York City during the pandemic lockdown. In the past 4 years, she has survived breast cancer and lost her father, my great uncle. In our time together this week, we were able to reconnect with good food and fellowship, and she asked that I share this joy with you all today. Joy for the crew of UUs that helped for 3 hours yesterday to spruce up our grounds, especially our playground, which will be open after service today. And joys and gratitudes for the work of the search committee. And then former UC young member Nora Delaney Snyder is currently enrolled in an art curriculum in Kansas City, Missouri. For the past 2 weeks, she has been seriously ill with double pneumonia and another unidentified infection. Nora was a special voice in the UUCUC youth choir during her Paxton High School years, several years ago. Please keep Nora in your thoughts for a complete and rapid recovery. Just gonna check that we received them all. So now I invite all of us to take a breath, rest our eyes, and drop our shoulders. Let us hold these joys and sorrows with love and tenderness, in gratitude and in hope, while we share this unique visual meditation. Death is not typically something people find beauty in. However, we can see how there can be light and darkness in this short film called The Boundaries of Light and Death. This work is based on a quote from Edgar Allan Poe. The boundaries which divide life from death are at best shadowy and vague. Who shall say where the one ends and where the other begins? The animation in this short film displays the cycles of creation and how both the beginning and the end are vital to the success of this crazy, undefined territory we call life.
The reading that Kelly has chosen for our service comes to us by queer theologian Delphine Bautista. The story of resurrection is a story of transition. The story of resurrection on Easter Sunday is a story of transition. The resurrection is the beginning of a journey of living into wholeness, a journey of affirming who one always was, and a journey of discovering or rediscovering new aspects of who we are. A journey similar to the many ways we transition in our lives. Transition is about living into your most authentic self. That kind of living means different things to different people. It is filled with fear and questions, determination and doubts, hope and wholeness, risks and affirmation. As people wrestle with the different understandings and embodiments of our identity, we stare into the tombs of our past. We come to recognize that who we were, or who we were forced to be, who the world expects us to be, is no longer there, and perhaps was never there. Resurrection is not about changing who we are. It's about affirming who we are, who we've always been, and who we will always be. The resurrection is a transition that will never end, as living into our beingness is a never-ending transition. One does not complete transition. One does not finish resurrecting. Both are ongoing adventures of struggle and resilience, of ups and downs, of tears, pain, and of tears of celebration. The resurrection that is transition sparks the emergence and the revealing of imperfectly fierce believers who affirm the good news of who they are in their messy wholeness. Much like the early Christian tribe grappled with the possibilities of the future, we don't always know what will come next. But we are ready to take on the world with our scars as living badges of honor and resilience. Emergence, affirmation, creation, resurrection, and transition are journeys of isness and not wasness. Journeys of both and-ness, mixed with either or-ness, and also neither-ness. Who we are is dynamic and messy, deconstructive and reconstructive, struggle-filled and celebration-filled, confusing and inspiring. End of the reading.
So there's an old saying that people attribute to Ben Franklin. The only thing certain in life is death and taxes. But today, as we celebrate Easter and the many other traditions and rituals and celebrations that happen during spring, we are reminded that life and rebirth is just as certain as death. In all the natural world, there is constant movement of loss and renewal at work. Like the great mandala, birth and death go round and round. One doesn't happen without the other. The phoenix can't arise from the ashes if it doesn't die first. The wheel of life moves us through the continuous evolution of the human experience. You never step in the same river twice. Movement, change, transformation. There is an intrinsic awareness and acceptance of these givens in life. But there's also a tension that's created by the opposing desire to stay still, to hold on to the past, to resist changes. And this season is literally about how life leads to death and death leads to transformation. And we can't have one without the other. I didn't always know this. When I was younger, I had a great tragedy that happened in my life that led to my own transformation. I met my first husband, Carl, in grad school, and we were married shortly after I graduated. We had a really good life together, living first in Milwaukee and then moving to Indianapolis for my career. We were waited and we enjoyed our life for 5 years until we decided to have our first child. And that went so well that we decided to have another one. But in our 9th year of marriage, shortly after having our second child, everything changed. After dealing with unexplained vertigo and choking for several months, he was diagnosed with a brain tumor. He bravely struggled with it and all the associated complications for 9 months before dying and leaving me, a 33-year-old, with a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old. And that whole experience, while awful, was a tremendous time of grace and growth for me. I learned so much about who I was and was broken open to reveal so many places of challenge and growth that I'm still exploring today. I started learning to understand what it meant to be vulnerable, to ask for help, and to accept help when offered to me, to feel emotions like sadness and anger and actually let them out, to let myself cry, for goodness sake, and most of all, to begin to let go of who I thought I needed to be and start figuring out my authentic self. It was really the first time that I came face to face with death, both physical death of somebody who I loved dearly, but also the equally real death of a version of myself. And that was the end of what I call Life 1.0. And I have a rather large tattoo of a phoenix on my thigh to remind me of how I made it through the fire and came out reborn. But you don't have to go through the loss of a loved one to experience death. Death can be anything that's negative, that's uncomfortable, it's difficult, that's unfamiliar, dangerous, or demanding. In that sense, we all go through many deaths in our lives. Breakups, divorces, getting fired from a job. They're like little deaths that pull the rug out underneath of us. But death can also mean going to the full depth of things, hitting rock bottom, going beyond where we're in control, changing a long-held belief, leaving an unhealthy relationship or community, giving up some of our privilege or our power. These are also experiences of death. Ideas can die. Relationships can die. Habits can die. And so can projects or perspectives. In fact, our lives are filled with a slow but constant set of things dying as we move through various stages of our lives. But no matter what kind of death we experience, when death occurs, it plunges us into something unfamiliar. Suddenly, the world that we know it's changed, and we don't know how to navigate our new reality. And as humans, we're not really good with change. It's actually wired into our DNA. We learned many years ago that what is unfamiliar might actually be dangerous. And so we tried to protect ourselves by not venturing into the unknown. And in this way, We can all be conservative and cautious, careful, and resistant to change. Our instinct for self-preservation makes us want to lock everything into place. Freud said that our deepest fear is the fear of death. And if the fear of dying is intimately intertwined with our fear of change, we're actually facing that fear every time we approach change. Every time something new comes into our lives, something must die. That's simply the nature of things. And it's so natural to be scared of death, of losing control, of not knowing what will happen afterwards, how much it might hurt physically or emotionally, of being asked to give up something that we're used to having, whether that something is a person or a belief. And our first instinct is to resist what we fear. We refuse to change solely out of the uncertainty that comes along with fearing that unknown. We desperately, desperately try to hold on to a sense of control and certainty. And we're scared. When we're scared, we can make excuses. We can blame other people. We can try to snatch that control back. We can hold tighter. We can turn bitter. We can close down. And that's just our ego getting in the way. Sound familiar? But if we allow things to run their natural course, resurrection is actually a foregone conclusion. It's part of the inevitable cycle. The only thing that can get in the way is if we fight it. When we resist this process of impending death, we set ourselves to block the process of new transformation, and we can't move forward, and we get ourselves stuck, and we hold on tight, and we can't let go, and everything comes to a grinding halt. We become unwilling or unable to die to the old to make room for something new. And that's what the true death is. That's the one that we should be afraid of. Pema Chodron put it beautifully, let difficulty transform you, and it will. In my experience, we just need some help learning how not to run away. And the fact is, the changes we experience in our lives, whether chosen or thrust upon us, they do change us for better or for worse. And if we can somehow just keep going, if we can just muddle forward, if we can let go of the fear that holds us back and trust that something better is on the other side, we can gradually find our footing in that new reality. It's what happens to a seed when it begins to produce a plant. Something new gets created. But death must actually be midwifed, so to speak, and gently carried into the new life that waits on the other side. And that's where that miracle happens. When we let in and accept the things that would normally destroy us, the tragic, the sorrowful, the painful, the uncomfortable, the unjust deaths that lead us all to the bottom of our lives. When we open ourselves up for a new way of thinking and living, it's not just one and done. It doesn't happen like that. Certainly not easy at all. But it is letting go of one thing so that we can reach for the next. Embracing death and being willing to see what happens in us and to us when we encounter a wilderness to cross, a demand upon our best selves to make a new thing out of the unknown, a situation that requires us to reimagine who we are and what we believe. It's hard, but it's necessary. Having struggled through some pretty big changes and deaths in my own life, the death of a spouse, quitting my job to start a business, my retreat center, Soul Care, and then having to close it 3 years later, redefining my spiritual identity, coming to terms with my whiteness, just to name a few. It seems to me that in order for transformation to work its way with us, we have to cooperate with the powers that are working to change us, powers that are both within us and outside of ourselves. Transformation, it requires death. It's just how it works. Death can seem scary, and people might resist it because they see the death of something as an end. But it's not. Death is required for life to flourish. Like the phoenix who dies in a pyre of flames and rises up anew. Like the tiny seed that's planted in the darkness, cracks open and blooms into new life. We are called to grow, to change, to give up and start again and again and again and again. Let's celebrate the miracle that happens when we embrace death and create space for something new to grow, and we allow ourselves to be transformed in heart and mind, in spirit and in body. I'd like to close with a really amazing song that I found called We Rise, which is from the album Songs of the Phoenix and performed by the San Francisco Gay Men's Chorus. Every time I hear this song, I feel the need to stand up and put my arms in the air. So if you are feeling the same and you want to stand or move or raise your arms, if you feel moved, go right ahead.
For our chalice closing, you are invited to join me in reading as is printed in the insert in your bulletin, or okay then. Hello to you too. All are welcome here, even on your Harley. To let those words flow over you or read with as we begin. We call forth the life of our faith by igniting our chalice. I'm doing this chalice lighting. Here's my last thing I'm reading here, and I mess it up. What do you know? But it's for you use, and we're in this together, and we forgive one another, and we move on. Closing words. Without darkness, there cannot be light. Without death, there cannot be life. Without silence, there cannot be music. Without sorrow, there cannot be joy. Let the darkness inspire us to be radiantly alive. Amen.